It is time to start the Sportsmemo College Football Every Game on the Board podcast with our first guest, Teddy Covers. Teddy, welcome in. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing all right. You know, it's a crazy week, Thanksgiving week, and we're doing college football on a Tuesday this week. So it'll be quick hitters. You know, a lot of the information. You know, I'm going to give basic thoughts and info on these games. But as with any of this stuff, when you talk about Tuesday versus Thursday, you know, sometimes you got to flesh it out a little bit. So we'll do hopefully some of that here on the pod today and break down what do we got. We got 20 games to go through, man.
Yeah, 20 games. We got 3 segments of 20 games each, and Rob Vino will have on tomorrow's podcast to finish off the College Football Every Game on the Board podcast, along with Brent Crow and Teddy Covers doing the NFL Every Game on the Board podcast for tomorrow. So kind of a condensed version of the Sportsmemo podcast for this week. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody out there. Teddy, we were just talking a little bit off. You're staying in Vegas for Thanksgiving, right?
Yeah, I'll be a rare year that I'm not on a plane, and I'm really looking forward to it. But of course, family's going to be in town, which means that you know, the one thing about Thanksgiving is it's such a busy sports weekend. You know, when you got family and other stuff that you have to do, the mixed focus can be a problem. So I'm glad I'm going to be doing it in my own home this year. And of course, you know, I haven't really dived into college basketball yet. That comes after this weekend. You know, we'll start probably take a look at the card in depth Sunday and Monday as we get post college football regular season. So looking forward to that. Really looking forward to getting into college hoops.
Yeah, and happy Thanksgiving to all the listeners out there. Thanks for tuning in. And we do have a special out there because of the week. You know, if you're not wanting to be checking your email and checking the website all the time, we have the 7-day all-access package, the Turkey Day Shootout, which we've been doing for over 10 years here at sportsmemo.com. We got it half off this week using the coupon code SHOOTOUT at checkout for the 7-day all-access. Like Teddy just said, it's NFL, college football, college basketball, any sport the handicapper does for half off for this week. Check that out at sportsmemo.com. Getting into the games, Teddy, we got 2 tonight. We can go through quickly. Some action, 101-102, Northern Illinois at Western Michigan. Looks like Northern Illinois, the Huskies, laying 6.5 or 7 on the road. 51 the total, Teddy.
Yeah, and I mean, Western Michigan's gone through, they faded pretty badly the last few weeks. You know, they had a bad loss against Toledo at home and followed up with a bad loss against Ohio U at home, and then, losing his big chalk at Ball State last week. So certainly a team that's headed in a negative direction down the stretch. They've struggled to take care of the football, -6 in turnovers during this span. They've struggled defensively, all 3 opponents. When Ball State scoring 42 against you, it's a problem. And when you're giving up 150 in a 3-game span, unable to stop the run, unable to stop the pass, those aren't teams I tend to be very excited about, even for their home finale. And Northern Illinois, they play defense, plain and simple. They're not an easy team necessarily to lay points with because the offense is as sluggish as it is. But you say which of these 2 teams are going to stop in the fourth quarter? It's the Huskies and not the Broncos. They deserve to be road chalk in this one.
Teddy, we got Ball State. They struggled, but they surprised some people, last week, I believe. But they're going on the road to play Miami of Ohio. 54 the total, with Miami of Ohio laying 17.5, big number at home.
Yeah, it's and this is an easy pass for me. It's just because the point spread has it in the right spot. Ball's no good, and they're coming off a rare victory in which everything broke right for them. Do I trust them to do it 2 weeks in a row against a good defensive team? I do not. Miami the offense, there's not a lot of explosion with Ragland at QB. You don't see the big play touchdowns. The running game isn't producing a ton of big plays. So Miami was winning games. They're not blowing teams off the field, and that definitely concerns me in this point spread range, even though they are playing for bowl eligibility and did pull off the big upset over Northern Illinois last week.
Teddy, heading into the Thursday slate on Thanksgiving Day, there will be some live college football, 3 games here. We got 3:30. Colorado State, Air Force Mountain West action, 62.5 the total, seeing 14.5 at 5 dimes, 14 at Chris right now. That's Air Force laying at home.
Yeah, did you happen to see the ending of the Colorado State-Utah State game? Where Colorado State they complete the Hail. Okay, they're 30-point dogs at home against Utah State. And they're down 5. They complete the Hail Mary, catch it in the end zone. They're going to win the game. Everyone goes nuts. Oh, the receiver's foot was out of bounds. He stepped out of bounds, and the play gets rolled off. I mean, for as bad a season as the Rams have had, to have that happen, and now they got to go on the road and take on Air Force. I don't know that Colorado State brings it here. I really don't. That's about as frustrating a way to pull off a major upset, and it all got away from them. And this has been a throwaway season. It's been a throwaway season for Air Force, and Air Force is no good, and they're not a team I'm excited about laying any price with. And again, last week they have Wyoming beat. That was probably the worst beat of the year. One of the worst beats of the year. If you had Air Force plus the points last week, where they dominate the game, fall apart at the end, they're about to lose by 1, and they turn it over, and then Wyoming just wants to get a first down, and they end up getting a touchdown, and boom, it's an 8-point win. It was brutal for the Falcons, but that's the way it's gone for them. I mean, they're a bad defensive team, particularly against the pass. So it's hard for me to get to the window laying 2 touchdowns. Therefore, it's easy pass. I don't want either team.
We got the Egg Bowl, Teddy. Mississippi State at Ole Miss. Laying doubles, though. That's Mississippi State on the road. 10.5, seeing some 11s. 59 the total. This one in Oxford, Mississippi.
Yeah, and boy, I mean, Mississippi pulled off the upset last year, 31-28. In Starkville as 14-point dogs. So it's not like they can't do it. They won straight up at Mississippi State in 2015 as well. But of course, last time home, they lost 55-20 in I believe that was Hugh Freeze's last game, one of his last games with the Rebels. Now, Ole Miss has cost their backers all year long. They've been a bad point spread team. They're coming in here on a 4-game skid. Defensively, their numbers are dismal. That being, and as much as that, we see them play the good defensive teams, and the offense hasn't worked the same way. But you look at the other equation. All right, you want to lay doubles with a Bulldogs team that A is going to get Ole Miss's best game. B, they can't score. I mean, I know they did against Arkansas last week. I know they did against Louisiana Tech, but you can't forget when they're going on the highway, back-to-back road games, LSU and Bama, they came up with 3 points in those 2 contests combined. It's not an offense that is particularly dynamic, and they're taking a whole bunch of money. Home dog or pass for this better.
On to the Friday slate, Teddy. We got Akron at Ohio, 55 the total, with the Ohio Bobcats laying 23.5 at home.
Yeah, and I mean, the markets are going to be pretty high on Ohio after what they did last week to Buffalo. And, of course, Ohio's been good all year. They had the 1 loss to Miami in recent weeks. But other than that, in their last 5, it's all wins and covers. And they just had a big national TV blowout against a popular dog that people took notice for. So much for point spread bargains with Frank Solich's squad. But, you look at the Zips, and they haven't been real good against the spread. They haven't been able to put points on the board. But the one thing they do, they play pretty good defense. And, of course, the offense has scored only 13 points against Eastern Michigan and Bowling Green in their last 2 ball games. But the defense has been able to keep them competitive repeatedly this season, including, go back to that win over Northwestern early in the campaign. So that certainly, in my mind, gives the Zips a fighting chance to hang within the number against an inflated point spread, an Ohio Bobcats team that has something of a betting following right about now.
Guys, Teddy's been good in college all year long, 30 and 23, 57% overall. In his college football totals, over the last 5 years almost, 61%, 56 and 36. So good track record there. NBA coming along as well, 59% year to date, just short season so far. But even best is your NFL, Teddy. Sides, 66% overall, 58%. You've been seeing it well. Just off topic here real quick, what'd you think of the highest scoring Monday night game last night with the Chiefs and the Rams?
It was fun. It was a lot of fun to watch. What I think of the game, I think that the books took a bath on it, and that whatever prop you were betting, whatever over anyone bet out there, Cash, But from an entertainment standpoint, the NFL's not going to argue with the game that everyone's talking about on Tuesday morning. Glad the game was played in L.A. and not on a bad field in Mexico City.
And Teddy, did the sharp money come in on the under?
Of course it did.
Okay, so
it will again. That's what they do. It doesn't matter. There's nothing in their database that says 64 should go over. Yeah, absolutely. It was. All the public bet the over. All the wise guys bet the under, and the wise guys got their asses handed to them.
Well said, Teddy. And guys, remember that coupon code SHOOTOUT at checkout for half off his 7-day all access. That includes NFL, college football, college basketball, NBA, all of it on there. Obviously, having a great year here. Teddy covers, great choice. 117-118, Teddy. East Carolina, Cincinnati, 51.5. The total, 19.5. That's Cincinnati, the Bearcats, laying at home.
Boy, two teams with very different momentum levels this week. East Carolina snapped a 4-game skid. And again, of course, it came against UConn, but they blew them out. It was, their offense moved the ball up and down the field. They got explosive plays all day long. Whatever. The Huskies are on pace to have the worst defense in college football history. But from East Carolina perspective, hey, some positive momentum, something good. We got the offense moving, all of that. And of course, Cincinnati, facing their toughest test of the season last week at UCF, and they got it wasn't close, and those type of losses can be difficult to bounce back from at this stage of the season, especially when you're big chalk. It's not like Cincy's offense is great. They're not marching up and down the field, putting the biscuit in the basket every week. They've been predicated on their defense, and the defense is why they've had the season that they've had. What you expect from Luke Fickell, but the bottom line is this point spread range a little bit rich for a team coming off a huge loss that needs to win on the defensive side of the football because the offense is fairly pedestrian.
Couple action games here, Teddy. Eastern Michigan, Kent State, 13.5. That's EMU laying on the road, 52 the total in Kent.
Yeah, and Eastern were playing all those tight games. Last month, every game's been decided by double digits, and they won 3 of the 4. Central, Akron, Ball State, no good teams during that span. But it's an Eastern squad. And when you look at this MAC conference, I went back and looked because I was curious about it. Since I've been in Vegas, 11 of the 14 MAC teams at one point or other have been the best team in the conference. Eastern's one of the 3 that hasn't. Akron and Kent are the other 2. But the other 11 teams, at least at some point, it's a conference that hasn't, there's no one dominant team. And I can't think of another conference where at some point in the last 20 years, there's been 11 different teams vying for the top bid. But Eastern's never been there, and they never will be there. Neither is Kent. These are the bottom feeders in this conference. And, of course, Kent's been a point spread disaster. What have they got? They've been a straight-up disaster. They've covered a handful of numbers over the course of the campaign, but defensively, they're just god-awful the last 2 weeks, giving up 48 and 56. Hard for me to get to the window with a team that I don't trust to get stops at all, even in their home finale.
We got Buffalo Bowling Green, 14.5. Buffalo laying on the road, 61 the total, Teddy.
Yeah, this is the bounce-back game for Buffalo. It's the game they need to clinch their side of the division, and I can understand why they're taking money. And, again, they had the bad spot on a short week last week and ran into a hot offense on the wrong night. But Buffalo is the class of this league. They have an opponent they're supposed to be able to show it against in a game that means something to them. Of course, the markets are well aware of this. You're not getting any point spread bargains with Buffalo, especially consider the fact that all of a sudden here's BG off back-to-back wins as underdogs, but the quality of competition there, Central, Michigan, and Akron, not exactly what they're going to face when they see the Bulls on Friday.
Heading to the Big Ten, we got Nebraska at Iowa, 53 the total, with the Hawkeyes laying 10 at home.
How much? Okay, the bottom line. Okay, I'll just say this. Iowa scored. I bet against Iowa 2 weeks ago at home against Northwestern. That was a pleasing result. Then they went to Illinois and scored 63, and now they're laying double-digit chalk again at home. I don't think Iowa's all that. And that hurt me. I lost one bet fading Iowa, the Maryland game, and that was just that Maryland couldn't throw the ball at all against that Terps defense. And maybe that'll be the case here for Martinez and the Huskers. But when you look at which of these two teams is easier for them to move the ball up and down the field, boy, that's Nebraska. It's a rivalry series. The last 2 years have been bad blowouts, 56-14, 40-10. That's not the long-term series history here between these two squads. It's been competitive by and large, but the Mike Riley era did not end well in terms of their late season matchups against Iowa. So personally, I think this spread's a little bit rich. I will most assuredly. The Nebraska's on the short list this week, and especially with the money coming for Iowa, a lean may well turn into a play.
We got 125, 126, a 9 a.m. Pacific kick here. Texas at Kansas. Texas laying 15 and Lawrence 50.5 the total.
Sure. And again, we know the situation here. Texas is in position to get to the Big 12 title game. They need to take care of business in this contest for them to get there. And they're certainly capable of doing it. The question is margin. And it's a Kansas team that has shown feistiness and fire down the stretch. They gave Kansas State a battle. They gave Oklahoma a battle. That's where they hung 40 on the Sooners. And everyone's talking about how bad Oklahoma's defense is and all that. 2 weeks ago, 11 yards per pass. Last week they're getting better than 9 yards per rush. There's something to like about this Jayhawks offense right now. And all the must-wins on Texas, all the pressures on Texas. We know the track record for Tom Herman as an underdog. The track record is a favorite, not quite as good. And it is absolutely the type of game for the Longhorns, like, let's win this one and get out of town. And, you look at Texas victories this season. They don't have a whole lot of wins by more than 2 touchdowns. USC way back then. But that whatever. Forget about the Trojans. That's it for the season. So Texas not necessarily built to win games by this type of margin, especially with all the pressure on their side of the equation.
Does the new hire of Les Miles influence this at all, you think, Teddy?
Not even a little bit. Yeah, good luck, Kansas. Great hire, guys. Enjoy that 14. You can burn that and it's one of these hires that even before his first day on the job, it will not work. They're throwing money, just like Charlie Weiss. They're throwing money at a problem that is not easily fixed. And, Les Miles collecting a paycheck at this stage of his career, I'm not buying it. But in terms of how it affects the game, I don't think it affects it at all. Kansas knew they were getting a new coach. Now they got a new coach. Every player on that team knows that they have to, whatever they did this year has no effect on, how things are going to play out next year at this time.
Teddy, you bring up Charlie Weiss. I kind of disagree. I don't think that's apples to apples. Les Miles can recruit. It's a lot different.
Charlie Weiss walked into a program that was a top 5 team the previous year before Mangino got it. I remember Mangino got out. I don't even remember what he did. Did he say something stupid, or he was yelling at players, he was bullying, whatever it was? No, I'm missing. It was Turner Gill came in after me, and there was the Turner Gill was a death knell.
Okay.
But what was it, 2007 or so?
Yeah, somewhere around there.
Like Kansas was, I remember them playing Missouri. It was like number 1 versus number 3. It was November.
Yeah, they had a hell of a program. But I'm saying I think Les Miles has a shot at getting them, bowl eligible.
What's been the problem with Kansas? The problem with Kansas is you can't recruit there. All right, it's just that simple. You can't recruit the better athletes to Kansas. Everyone that's good in Kansas goes somewhere else. And is that going to change? It's a basketball school. That hasn't changed. Les Miles or no Les Miles.
All right, let's head to the SEC, or at least the outskirts.
The upside for Kansas is like if they can go 6-6, it's a great season for Kansas. Yeah. Can they possibly have a 6-6 season sometimes before Les Miles get fired? Maybe.
I'll take the yes. I'll take the yes.
Okay, you take the yes. I got the no.
All right. We'll try to remember that one in 4 or 5 years. We got Arkansas. What's that?
Take the under 5 years. Les Miles ain't lasting no 5 years before they get rid of him.
Well,
over and a half on Miles before they buy him out.
Well, when you get this type of job, you got at least 3, right? No matter what happens, and then if you get 4 wins in that 4th year, you get a 5th year. That's how I view it, right? We'll see what happens. We got Arkansas at Missouri, 61.5 the total. Looks like Mizzou 23 at home. Yeah,
exactly. You want Arkansas this week?
No, I don't want Arkansas at all.
Yeah, I mean, there's no case I can make here for the dog. Missouri's offense is untracked. They will blow teams off the field if they get the opportunity. And Arkansas isn't fighting. They waved the white flag last week. They waved the white flag against Vandy. They had the one game against LSU where they kind of waved the white flag there and then ended up scoring a couple times late and got extraordinarily lucky for their backers, at least, with when Brissett went down 3 times at the 1-yard line. But this is an Arkansas team that is not bringing their A game. I'm not seeing the effort. I don't want no part of them against Tigers offense that hung 50 last week and could very easily hang 50 again this time around. This one feels like a blowout.
We got Sunbelt action. Coastal Carolina at USA. South Alabama. Coastal laying 2 on the highway. 58 the total.
Yeah, you're going to have to help me with this one because I'll tell you, and again, we're doing this on a Tuesday. We normally do it on a Thursday. I'm doing my best with quick hitters on a lot of this stuff. But Sunbelt, these are 2 teams. I don't think I've bet against Coastal Carolina or against Coastal Carolina all year. So I think there was one game I got involved with South Alabama back in September, but they're not teams that I follow closely at this stage of the campaign. So if you got anything, share it. Otherwise, I'll pass.
Coastal, I've been watching them a little bit. They're kind of a tough read. They've had a tough go of it of late. App State, Arkansas State, Georgia Southern, likely, 3 of the top 4 teams in the Sun Belt, and lost all straight up and ATS. So coming here to South Alabama, Coastal's the way I would look. Not to mention they got 5 wins on the season, so a win and they become bowl eligible. So like the motivation factor there. So it's Coastal or pass. I haven't bet it yet though, Teddy. We got 131, 132 heading to the MAC. CMU at Toledo, 53 the total. Looks like Toledo 18.5 at home in the Glass Bowl.
Doesn't it seem cheap? I mean, Central's god awful. All right, this is the meaningless season finale for a 1-win team against an explosive offense. And, I know, look, the last 3 weeks have all been these tight, low-scoring games, against Akron, against Eastern Michigan, against Bowling Green. Of course, when your offense scores only 30 points during that span, the offense hasn't scored more than 13 since, mid-October. It's a bad Chippewa offense. And we thought it was going to be a rebuilding year. They're extraordinarily young. They've had injuries, but they can't run, they can't throw against weak teams. And Toledo, we know what the Rockets haven't made a whole lot of noise this year. But as a program, we know where Toledo's at. They got all the kids that are too small to play for Michigan or Ohio State. They, put up points in bunch. And did that just last week against Kent, 56 against the Flashes in that ball game, 384 on the ground. I think that Toledo could hand off every play here and potentially cover this number. I want no part of the dog.
Teddy, we got a couple bigger matchups to close out the segment here, starting with the war on I-4. We got UCF at USF. Looks like UCF laying 14 on the road, about, an hour and a half trip from, or less, from Orlando to Tampa on I-4 there. 68.5 the total, Teddy.
Now, just so you know, the war on I-4 was originally coined for the Arena Football League.
Ooh,
when Orlando and Tampa used to play. And, of course, that's where Jay Gruden. Is that who am I thinking? Yeah, whatever. It doesn't matter. The bottom line is, and I think it was Gruden was there for sure. But that's that's what the war on I-4 used to be when these two teams didn't even have D1 programs yet. Now they have a D1 program, and we have a Central Florida team that is coming off an impressive national TV win and all this, and the hype is there, and they've earned it, and they deserved it, and there's no shortage of love for UCF in the markets this week. And when you look at what's happening to South Florida, remember, they were 7-0, USF. And now they're 7-4, and all the losses have come by double digits. And what the Charlie Strong happy times have come and gone already for this Bull squad. They can save their season with a win here, and certainly in a rivalry situation where you grade out the personnel, and it's not like UCF has a huge edge in this contest. Not like they have a 14-point edge, but and especially you think about coming off that huge national TV game and now going on facing a rival on the road. It is a very tricky spot for this road favorite. I wouldn't be surprised at all to see South Florida give them a game, but South Florida's not any good, and that may be part of the problem. They've had problems on both sides of the football in recent weeks, but particularly the offense have been very, very sluggish of late. Which in a game like this, you're gonna have to score points. You can't rely on just shutting down UCF for 60 minutes.
We got 135, 136, Teddy. The Civil War, Oregon at Oregon State. The Ducks laying 16.5 on the road, 69 the total.
Yeah, Oregon State's at 2-9 now. 4-7 against the spread. I mean, they're exactly kind of what we thought they would be, which is at the bottom of that conference. The question, by late November, I'm supposed to be very confident in my powering number for certainly all the Power 5 schools, all the conferences that I follow close. And with Oregon, I'm like, I keep on being like, I don't know. I don't know how good they are. They beat Oregon State 69-10. Last year, and that was a squad that was they were playing for bowl eligibility at the time. They were 5-6 going into that ball game. Then again, last visit here in 2016, Mark Helfrich's last game, the Ducks lost in straight up fashion. They were only -1 on this field, so it's certainly Oregon State got the money last week against Washington, but gave up 42 in that game. 48 against the Stanford team is no good. 38 against USC's not beating anyone. No, they won and covered against Oregon State. The Beavers don't have the depth of most squads in the Pac-12. So by the time November rolls around, they tend to be shorthanded, and that's no different this year. Defensively, they're a weak team, and in theory, Oregon's supposed to be able to score on at or near every possession. But again, we saw last week with this Duck squad where in control of the game, and the next thing you know, they didn't cover the number. The ability to close out games positively has been a problem for them, and they haven't been money winners. Only point spread cover in the last 5 games came against a Bruins team in a game where UCLA was turning it over. So Oregon has been burning their backers' money. They've been an overvalued commodity, in part because the defense isn't getting stops. Bottom line, I've talked too much about a game that I have really no opinion. Interesting game to consider, but not one that I'm going to bet on.
Teddy, 2 games left here. We got 137, 138. Houston at Memphis, 76 the total. Looks like the Memphis Tigers laying 7 at home.
So my gut reaction initially was Memphis can't be laying 7 to Houston. No freaking way. Even though Memphis got the win and cover against SMU last week, I came out of that game not believing in Memphis any more than I did going into that game. They got the cover on a missed 2-point conversion. The offense didn't move the football particularly effectively, and the defense was gashed through the air. They've given up at least 10 yards per pass attempt, in 4 of their last 5 games. The only team that couldn't do it was Tulsa. Now, admittedly, they played SMU and East Carolina, Missouri, UCF, teams that can throw the football around, but it's not like they're facing an opponent here in Houston that can't throw the football around. Derek King is something special, but the weakness of the Cougars defense, and it's very, very real, they cannot stop the run. And when you got Darrell Henderson, who's, I don't know if he's still the nation's leading runner for extended stretches this season, he's been the best running back yardage-wise in the country, and Memphis is capable of just handing the ball off and scoring touchdowns, which is a problem for a Houston defense that has not been real good at stopping the run. Even last week in that blowout win over Tulane, the Owls were able to move the football on the ground against them, as was Temple, as was every team that they've faced. So I know this. I don't want the favorite. It'd be dog or pass for this better.
Teddy, last game for the segment. Pretty good time-wise. We're at 30 minutes. So Virginia Tech. Not sure. Do you know the name of this rivalry?
I do, but I can't think of it.
Okay.
It's some kind of. Is it an axe or there's no axe here? There's this bucket, and I'm going to find it out.
No, I'll find it while you're talking. We got the Paul. It's not the Paul Bunyan axe. I don't know what I'm thinking. 3.5. That's what Virginia's laying on the road. Virginia Tech at home here. 50 the total, Teddy.
I'm not even seeing a name for it. By the way, when I googled it real quick, I mean you can look further. I mean, what kind of case can you make for Virginia Tech right now? Virginia Tech's god awful. The Bud Foster's defense.
No, dude, that's a joke now.
Yeah,
what does that
you
even
brought
mean?
it up last week, and I was like, yeah, well, Bud, they play some good. No, Bud Foster's defense is bad this year. The Hokies come in 0-4 straight up, 0-4 against the spread. Their last 4, every loss by double digits, most of them in blowout fashion. The effort hasn't been there. Now against Virginia, you expect the effort to be there. But then I thought it would be there last week against Miami and the week before against Pitt, and it's just there's a bad beaten down football team. Hokies won 10-0 last year. At Virginia, 52-10 the year before that. So we certainly haven't seen much from Bronco Mendenhall's offense against this Virginia Tech defense. But Virginia Tech's defense this year is nothing like what we've seen in recent years. Their offense can't trade points with anyone. And, at 7-4, I mean, Virginia's coming off a frustrating loss, losing on a missed field goal in overtime at Georgia Tech. They're not a great team. They're a good team. They're being priced like a good team. It's very reasonable point spread here to lay for the Cavs. But it's certainly not a series in which they've shown the ability to move the football. But on the other hand, Fuente's defense and Bud Foster defense not even close to what it's been. So, pass. Not a game I'm likely to get involved with.
Teddy, I'm seeing the Commonwealth clash. Does that sound about right?
If it is, that's the first I've heard of it.
Okay. Well, any Virginia Tech or Virginia alumni or fans out there?
Kind of the whole point is that it's not a name like, hey, we all know what the Apple Cup is or the Big Game or, the Old Oaken Bucket or some of these. I mean, we've heard of them all. This is one that when we're thinking about it, you say, oh, it's that. I'm like, I never heard anyone call it that. So, it's not a...
It should be a little bit. They should have one. I feel like it's Virginia Tech, like two old universities. I don't know. I'm surprised they don't have a bigger one. But Teddy, we're gonna have you back on tomorrow, correct?
Sure, I'm in.
All right.
NFL is easier, man. NFL you can whip down. You can whip out. College football, at this stage of the season, there's not an NFL team I can't talk about. College football, you really got to do at least a little bit of digging for some of this stuff to give people some accurate info. And I apologize for not doing anything with injuries and not doing much with totals today, but it is what it is. It's Tuesday morning. I'm doing the best I can.
Of course, Teddy. Understandable. And we'll have Teddy back on for the NFL segment tomorrow. Every game on the board. And guys, remember the coupon code if you're at sportsmemo.com for Teddy's or any handicappers 7-day all access, half off with the coupon code SHOOTOUT. We'll be right back with Brent Crow doing college football. Every game on the board.